Kentucky at South Carolina, Stephen. Two teams in very different situations. A lot of desperation, you would think, on both sides. Kentucky, a 6-win season, 6-6 with a tough finish to the season at South Carolina against arch rival Louisville. A 6-6 season will not sit well with the natives, especially considering all of Mark Stoops' commentary about the fans and NIL and Mitch Barnhart. Picking coordinator seems to be maybe a question for Mark Stoops, but otherwise, I think has earned a lot of patience and a lot of goodwill. But 6-6, not going to sit well. Meanwhile, South Carolina 4-6, desperate. They need 2 wins to get to bowl eligibility. They're going to have to beat Kentucky at home, 2-point dog, and then of course Clemson for the second straight year. So doable, but very desperate. I tend to like the desperate team at home in a night game situation, and that's the South Carolina Gamecocks in this one. They also have the better quarterback. That being said, Kentucky's sort of better at everything else. So what do you like here? The desperation and the better quarterback being at home, or do you like maybe the culture and the depth and the line of scrimmage of Kentucky?
I think, first of all, the not sitting well angle applies to both teams because 4-8, 5-7 doesn't sit well at South Carolina, albeit they did have a very difficult schedule and they've had some difficult roster stuff going on this year with the injuries on the offensive line. And certainly 6-6 would not sit well at Kentucky. So I think at the most basic level, there is a lot of, I don't want to say pressure or whatever. Like there's both teams, there should be some urgency to win. Like Kentucky is 1-4 in its last 5. The only win in that stretch was against a bad Mississippi State team. And South Carolina, the last 2 years under Shane Beamer, has been trending up at the end of the year. And we saw last year, Spencer Rattler can get hot at home. They can carry that into the bowl season. So I think there should be some optimism here for South Carolina. You're getting a Kentucky team that has struggled, and you're getting them in Williams Brice at night, which is going to be a crazy atmosphere, and there's plenty of motivation for South Carolina. To your point, Kentucky, if you had to just look at this matchup on a most basic level, South Carolina's passing game should be able to move the ball through the air against Kentucky's defense. Kentucky probably should be able to run the ball, and they probably should be able to throw it on South Carolina's defense, which has struggled all year. If you like South Carolina in this game, I think it's a play on sort of the intangibles, home field, desperation, and Spencer Rattler.
And frankly, inconsistency maybe with Kentucky at certain times, at certain different position groups, whether that's the secondary, whether that's mistakes and penalties for the defensive line, whether that's, offensive
receivers
line.
dropping passes too.
Yeah, it's just kind of been a weird year. I think the consistent thing is Ray Davis. And honestly, that's the one thing I'd be the most concerned about if I was South Carolina, is them just lining up and handing him the football like 47 times and not being able to stop it, because South Carolina on the line of scrimmage has been atrocious. Now, they are coming off their best game, most complete game of the season, South Carolina is, but I don't know. I don't know if that counts for much. I do think that the reason they've been so good late at the end of the season, of course, is because of all the Michigan cheating. So the Sunglass Bowl, which of course is what should be like made into a bronze statue between Mark Stoops and Shane Beamer, like the sunglasses, but they also need a little blue dot on them to make sure that those sunglasses are clearly recording is what we need.
I think we get Connor Stalions Ray-Bans from the Central Michigan State sideline. It could be the trophy that they give away at the end of the game. That sounds like a really good idea for these two programs. But like you said, there is a bit of an underlying, like, I don't want to say like, dislike, hatred. I don't know the right word for it, but
just call it a rivalry. It's okay.
Yeah, like the Stoops and the whole Beamer thing with the sunglasses and all that. Both of these staffs really, they want this game. Yep. And you add in the desperation for South Carolina, the need for Kentucky to rebound. There's a lot of just intangible intrigue for this game. And
I do think that motivation is the key in this matchup. Like which coach does a better job of getting his team to play more desperate on every snap? I think that's what matters. And I'm okay with these coaching rivalries. Like, it's good. Lane Kiffin and Jimbo Fisher, great. Sucks that Jimbo's not around anymore, but whatever. Eli Drinkowitz and Josh Heupel, good. It's good for the sport. Mark Stoops, the old guy who's been around, who's sort of just a ball coach, who does it the right, quote unquote, this way and the old school way. And he's been around for 8 years. And then Shane Beamer comes along with no expectations and no experience and just starts flaunting TikTok in every old man's face. And like, of course, Mark Stoops doesn't like it. Then he loses at home without Will Levis in the game last year. It's just, it makes for good sports. I like it when coaches don't like each other, even if it's just like kind of a low level of like rivalry. Like, I think that's good for the game. I think that's healthy. It's like how everybody feels when they play at Hugh Freeze and Auburn, you know?
Right. Yeah. No, it's healthy. It's not like an extreme hatred that's going to cause like, problems elsewhere. It's just a good like on-field rivalry between these two programs. And like I said, to me, desperation for South Carolina to get to 6 wins.
Yep.
And with Kentucky and Clemson both coming to your place, it's favorable, it's doable, it's hard, but it's doable considering what you have in the schedule.
Two great football families, man. It's two of the great football names in all of college football going head to head, and now they don't like each other. I think it's great. Okay, I'll take South Carolina at home, but I don't, there's a lot of matchups to like about Kentucky's side of the equation. So should be a good football game considering all the trash in the SEC this week. Should be a really good football game.
I like South Carolina as well. And I don't like some of the matchups, but I just like South Carolina to find a way to win.